Hey everyone, Kevin Smullin with 2Q Lead Generation Strategies, just bringing you another YouTube training video. So today we're going to take a little bit of a turn, a little bit of a change. Recently I've been doing tons of YouTube or tons of Facebook videos showing people how to market on Facebook, generate more leads, which is great, but I want to make sure that you understand that that's not the only part of the strategy that I teach. In fact, sphere of influence is a great source of business. And so today what I want to cover very quickly is a sphere of influence strategy. Now, the thing about what I'm going to share with you, this is normally like an hour and a half long class, but I'm condensing it to fit it into a shorter YouTube video so you get the gist of it. But this is the art of turning relationships into transactions without ruining that relationship. Sphere of influence is an area where a lot of people have struggled. In my opinion, the real estate industry has done a terrible job of teaching you how to market to this group of people based on my experience, and so we'll get there. My experience was my broker, when I first started, he gave me a script and said, Kevin, go call him. And basically it was, small talk for a little bit, and then there was a part in the script where it says, who do you know of that's thinking about buying or selling right now? And what happened was that direct solicitation offended a lot of people. The relationship kind of went downhill, and I didn't get referrals or transactions out of it. So I learned that there's a different way, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. So basically what we're talking about is if you're smart in doing this, you can easily leverage an extra 5 to 10 transactions every year from your sphere of influence. And here's why. On average, people move every 7 to 10 years. Now, the numbers I'm going to show you are based on people moving every 7 years, which is 14%. But even if you want to just take a more conservative approach and say, let's say that you have less turnover in your area, so people move every 10 years, right? Well, even if that's the case, that would mean 1/10 of your sphere of influence is going to be moving this year. And so if you know on average at least 200 people, if 1/10 of your database moves this year, that's 20 transactions, right? 20 divided by 10%, that would be 20 transactions. So the numbers you're seeing here are based on people moving every 7 years. So you can take whichever number you want, but let's just stay conservative and say that it's 20 out of that 200. Well, let's say you only capture half of that business because people just don't know that you're in real estate or you're not actively soliciting it or whatever. Even so, that's an extra 10 to 14 transactions, just depending on which set of numbers that you're looking at. And so that's why this is really critical, and the consistency of the strategy that I'm going to show you is the key to being able to capture those transactions. You can't let people know that you're in the business once, and if they only see you once, that's not going to be enough. So the 3 biggest challenges that people have when they're marketing to their sphere of influence, number 1 is the no solicitation zone, and we're going to get into detail on each one of these. But that no solicitation zone with friends, family, people that you know socially, there's this unspoken barrier that exists between you and them. And what happens is if you break that barrier and you directly solicit them, it starts doing some wear and tear, some damage on the relationship. People don't want to talk to you anymore. And so again, there's this unspoken no solicitation zone that we have to navigate. The second thing is an identity problem. So when I first got into real estate, people didn't think of me as Kevin, the real estate professional. They thought of me as Kevin, the friend, the family member, the person in the neighborhood, whatever that relationship was. And so part of the challenge with sphere of influence is we need to create a new identity in their mind so that they think of us as the real estate professional. Now, if you've been in the business for quite some time, some of that has probably occurred just through time, right? Them seeing that you've been in the business for a while, they know this is what you do, but we want to solidify that even more. And then the third big challenge is once we have that position in their mind as the real estate professional, now the question is, do they trust you? Are they willing to do business with you? So let's do a quick little recap on each one of these. So first of all is the no solicitation zone. So like we talked about with friends and family, there's this barrier. And the moment you break that is the moment the relationship deteriorates. So I learned this from my own experience. When I would call people based on what my broker gave me, who do you know of that's thinking about buying or selling right now? And I would use that script. What would happen is not only did I not get a referral from that, But people hated me putting them on the spot like that. They just didn't appreciate that experience. And so the next time I would see them socially, they would avoid me. The conversation was really cold and awkward. And frankly, nothing good came from it. And so what we need to do is learn how to navigate this no solicitation zone where we can still turn that relationship into a transaction, but we can do it in a way without offending people. And that's what I'm going to show you. So again, like we talked about, this is what happens with the typical script when you're saying, who do you know of that's thinking about buying or selling? And frankly, what they do is they start to perceive you as the latest multi-level marketing representative. So that's not an attack on an industry. There's just a certain stereotype that goes with it. And frankly, the reason why the stereotype exists is because they teach people to directly solicit their friends and family. That's what they teach them. And so we want to avoid that perception. Now, with that, the unintended results, when you call and ask people, who do you know that's thinking about buying or selling, there's two problems with it. The first one is you broke that no solicitation zone. We've already talked about that. The second problem is even if they give you a name just to get you off their back, the problem is what you received was a name and not a referral. So if I call you and I say, hey, who do you know that's thinking about buying or selling? And you say, oh, you need to go talk to John. Okay. My question is, if I call John as soon as we hang up, does John know who I am or what I do for work or why I'm calling? And if the answer to those questions are no, then we call that a cold call. That is very different from a referral. And so what you'll find is oftentimes if you're asking for referrals, what you get is a name and not a referral. So I highly recommend never asking for a referral, but especially with your sphere of influence, we never want to directly solicit them. So what I recommend instead, if you are going to go the referral route, I recommend promoting one instead. Promoting one is where you're not putting someone on the spot, but letting them know that you do accept referrals. So it would be something like this. Hey, you probably can't think of anybody right now, but if you ever come across anybody that would benefit from my services, would you please let me know? I'd love to have more clients just like you. And so that kind of a script where you're promoting a referral is far more effective because since you haven't directly solicited them, you haven't beat them up, then you earn the right to be able to talk to them again, and it's still a pleasant experience and conversation for them. So I highly recommend promoting one instead. Now, what happens is people categorize things in mental envelopes, right? And so one of the challenges with sphere of influence for a lot of people is your contacts may not think of you as the real estate professional yet, with emphasis on yet. So again, we have mental envelopes and how we categorize things. So as an example, if I say, who's the first fast food restaurant that comes to mind, you're going to say McDonald's or Wendy's or Burger King or Taco Bell or whoever it is, right? So for whatever reason, those companies have top of mind positioning for you. Same with, hotel. Same with car rentals, Hertz, Avis, Enterprise, Budget. Whoever that first company is, for whatever reason, they have top of mind positioning in that mental envelope for you. Well, our objective is we want to get your sphere of influence to the point where you are their mental envelope for real estate. And the way that occurs is with a little bit of time and a little bit of repetition. So the challenge is that we want to be able to take that relationship and turn it into a transaction without offending people. That's our challenge. So one of the ways that we have to do this is by increasing their trust with us. So trust is needed before they're ever going to do business with you, even if they know you, right? Because even if they know you socially, they may not trust you as a real estate professional. So that's part of this process. So the way that we establish trust is demonstrating competency, demonstrating success. So I call this, you need to show people evidence of success. So you could post on Facebook about a recent closing. You could send out an email to these groups with a testimonial. You can take videos of yourself, working at an open house, preparing market analysis for people. You can do all kinds of things, but people need to see you actively in the real estate, industry before they're going to trust you with this transaction. And so again, you have to demonstrate that evidence of success and show people that you're a competent real estate professional and that you're seeing results and you're active. Now, the strategy with our sphere of influence is this. The strategy is every sphere of influence contact is going to receive 40 contacts per year. Now that sounds like a lot, and it sounds like it's going to be a lot of time invested, but it's not. So let me show you how that breaks down. So the point of why we're doing such a high level of frequency of contact is it's going to take that many contacts to reprogram their mind so that they see you as the real estate professional. Now the question is, how do we do 40 contacts without offending people? So 12 of those contacts are a monthly drip. If you've followed any of my marketing systems, any of the trainings, anything that I do, you know that I'm a huge fan, a huge believer in dripping, because I've seen it work over and over and over again. That because sales is a timing game, you never know when that right time is. And so our approach is we want to be there all the time. And that's why we drip. So these 12 contacts, you're going to send them a monthly message. Usually email is what most of my clients do. And that email is going to be something valuable, teaching them about real estate, further developing that relationship. In fact, I would tell you if everything you're sending is about real estate, I would tell you you're missing the point. So we want to display trust. We do that through real estate information, but then we also want to deepen that relationship so that they're closer and closer tied to you, right? That's part of this process as well. So 12 of the 40 contacts are going to be a monthly message that you're sending out. Now, 3 to 4 contacts a year are going to be a phone call, right? These are just touching base. I highly recommend never soliciting people, never ask them to come to an open house, never ask for if they want a market analysis. Never ask these things, right? Keep it very non-solicitation. That way it's safe, it's easy, and you're not offending people. That way when you see them socially, you're still going to be okay. Now, the rest of those contacts, if you're doing 12 by message, 3 to 4, that's either 15 or 16 contacts per year, right? The rest of them are going to be market activity or hot sheets, right? So what I highly recommend is with your sphere of influence, as you're talking to them, one of these phone calls would basically just be, hey, John, just so you know, because I'm in the real estate industry, I get access to some things that would probably be very beneficial and helpful for you. And so one of the things I do for my friends and family, just so you're aware of what's going on in the real estate market, is I can set it up so that any home that goes on the market or sells in your neighborhood, that you're going to get a notification about that. That way you'll always know what your neighbors are selling their homes for, what's going on, so that you can better gauge, your real estate decisions. Plus, it's just nice to be aware of what's going on in the neighborhood. So if you're offering that, people are going to take you up on it. Yes, it takes you a couple of minutes to set that up in your multiple listing service, that hot sheet. But the cool part about that is in their local neighborhood, there's probably going to be, around 20, 25 transactions or so that's going to take place. And once you have that set up, it's just automated. And they're receiving valuable stuff without you having to spend any of your time to do it, other than just setting it up. And so that would be about 20 to 25 contacts a year. And so that is our entire 40 contact strategy for Sphere of Influence. Now, the way that you're going to know it's working is when you see people or when you're talking to them, they're going to say something like, hey, I've been getting all that information, all the messages you've sent, that's really helpful, but do you mind if I ask you a question? Right? That is how you know it's working. That's how you know that they have real estate on their mind. And that's the moment that they're no longer a sphere of influence. Now they're a prospect, because they are the ones that are soliciting you. And because they are the ones who broke that no solicitation barrier, everything is comfortable, everything is easy, and they are fair game to market to, right? So once they break that barrier, then it's fair game. So some action steps just to help you put this together. So number one, you need to start gathering all the contact information for your sphere of influence as much as possible. You're going to need that to be able to have a database, a list that you can market to. Right? You want to put them in some kind of a CRM, an email broadcast software, whatever you're doing. But I want to keep my SOI list separate from my past clients and my prospects, right? In your database, I highly recommend having at least 3 categories. So prospects, past clients, and sphere of influence, because the way that I market to those 3 groups of people are different. So I want to put those in your CRM. You're going to send them a monthly message that shows your expertise. That monthly message that you're sending out is probably going to take 10, 15 minutes of your time to put together per month. So that 10 to 15 minutes that you're spending putting that together, that gives you a touch point with every single sphere of influence, which is very, very valuable. I want to set up those people for a hot sheet like we talked about, so they're getting notified of everything going on in their immediate area. And then lastly, you want to create a call schedule. So like if your plan is to talk to them 3 times a year, then you know that you need to talk to them every 4 months. So if you called and talked to one of them today as part of your prospecting, then you would just want to set up a follow-up call for 4 months from today. That's the easiest way to manage this. That way, when that rolls around and it shows up on your calendar, you already know who you need to call, and then it's time for another phone call. So that is the strategy of how we market to our sphere of influence. So hopefully this was really valuable for you. I highly recommend that you put this in place. I've seen people absolutely crush it with this strategy because it's based on relationships. Those always convert better than a cold lead off of Facebook or something like that. And I've seen people where 75, 80% of their business comes from this source because they're effective in what they do. So that is today's training on how to easily add another 5 to 10 transactions per year from your sphere of influence just by staying in touch. Because again, remember, at a minimum, if people are moving every 10 years, that means 1/10 of your sphere of influence is moving this year. That's a great reason to stay in touch. So as always, if you enjoyed this video, just click on the like button below. That helps us, just gets us more reach, more publicity, which is always a great thing for us. Also, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, click the subscribe button below. You can also click on the little bell, which will give you notifications, and you'll be notified every time we release a brand new training video like this. Also, down in the comments, or excuse me, down in the description, I'm going to put some links to some courses and trainings that we offer. That way, if you want to take your business to a next level, you'll be able to do that. So this is Kevin Smullin with 2Q Lead Generation Strategies signing off. If you need help with your marketing, we would love to help you. Again, I'll put that information in the description below. Have a great week. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.